Knew he was a player before, but didn't know really about his for which teams he played. But like you're telling a story about probably or was he the best striker we ever had? Do you think the Dutch national team?
That's hard to say. Hard to say, but he's
In the top.
definitely up there. Yeah,
Yeah, right?
In the top. Yeah.
If you score like in a World Cup semi-final with a great header against Brazil, I think you're always Dutch national team. Of course, we knew he was a player before, but didn't know really about his for which teams he played. But like you're telling a story about probably or was he the best striker we ever had? Do you think the Dutch national team?
That's hard to say. Hard to say, but he's
In the top.
definitely up there. Yeah,
Yeah, right?
In the top. Yeah.
If you score like in a World Cup semi-final with a great header against Brazil, I think you're always I always think if you can score in the biggest games on the biggest platform, that says a lot about you as a striker. And I think
Of course, but
you
it's
were
also,
a little bit young, right?
I
In
think it's
98?
also about consistency, of course, because as a striker, probably not in big games, but if you play in strong teams, you're gonna score goals
Yeah,
for
true.
sure. But being as consistent as he was on different levels in different teams, I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, definitely. It is so. Isn't it weird because he was like maybe an idol for you when you were growing up, that he's going to be your coach now?
That's a good question. I think like the thing is, on top of his career, I was still really young.
Yeah.
So I think you have a better picture of him as a player than me, honestly. So I know him more from the stories, but not really from playing.
I remember that my parents got really annoyed with me. I never supported really Ajax, but like in those years in '95 when they won the Champions League, everyone was watching. And the moment he scored the winning goal against AC Milan in the final, I was just screaming because he scored. And then I think it was December '95, Ajax won the World Cup for club teams against Grêmio in Japan.
Yeah. The year I was born.
I was like in primary school, and we were all watching with the whole school. And then they won, and I remember it was me and two other guys. We ran outside, took off our shirt, and started celebrating. But it was December, so it was so cold. So the teacher came after us, said, "Are you crazy?" But that was the days. Like it's difficult for people to understand maybe, but there wasn't a lot of football on television in 95, 96. You know?
No, it was just getting started.
It was just commercial television was just getting started. And then the matches you have seen have so much impact on you, because I remember so many games of him during his career because there was no other distraction. It was only the game you watched.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fascinating choice. And especially if you look at the other two coaches who you also worked with. That's interesting. Alex Pastoor and Danny Lansat.
With Alex and Danny, I've worked for a longer period in AZ, but with the first team.
Yeah, tell us.
So Danny joined as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
And Alex also was the assistant coach of Marco van Basten. He was the head coach.
Yeah.
And I think in that period, Marco van Basten got a burnout. So he stayed home for a few weeks, and Alex in this period took over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because he let me make my starting debut in AZ. So the season before I was 19, and with Dick Advocaat I made my debut in professional football. But the second half of this season, I was always coming in game, but I didn't get a start yet.
Yeah.